All right, today we're going to dive into the root cause of multiple sclerosis. In order to do that, though, in order to more easily understand the root cause of your symptoms, we need to change the lens with which we see and understand the body and disease. Because you see, in conventional medicine, there is no known cause of MS, right? Despite years and years of research and millions of dollars, we don't know what causes MS through the lens of conventional medicine. Yes, we know that EBV tends to be some aspect of it and low vitamin D, but that doesn't really explain why everyone else, the 99 other percent of people that have EBV, do not get MS, and why the other 40 to 80% of the population that also have deficiencies in vitamin D don't get MS, right? Also, these kind of environmental causes, such as vitamin D and EBV and others, don't explain why only one side of the body can be affected, or why only the bottom half of your body. Why also at that moment in your life and not 5 years before or 5 years after? And why, for example, you got it and not your older sister or your younger brother or your neighbor, right? So we're just going to put conventional medicine and conventional theories aside. And instead, we're going to go right back to basics and back to the natural sciences. So we're going to understand multiple sclerosis through the lens of German New Medicine and the natural sciences. You see, in nature, the body, a tree, any of those elements are part of the natural world. And the universe is not seen as something random that just breaks down out of the blue. Instead, in nature and natural sciences and German New Medicine, we always assume that the body changes and adapts in response to distress. So I'm going to give you some examples today. We're going to use different animals to begin to break down and understand the different most common symptoms of multiple sclerosis through this biological language, as German New Medicine would use the term to understand the root cause. It's actually quite simple, and you can, the purpose of today's presentation is for you to start gaining an insight and awareness of what your body might actually be doing. It's kind of just giving you just another lens, another point of view to help you be able to start controlling what's happening in your body. So let's begin with dogs. Think about this. If any of you guys have a dog, once you take it outside, it does its things, it pees, it poops, whatever, and then it continues to pee on every tree and every fire hydrant it passes. Does it have bladder incontinence? Why would it be doing that? Yes, it is marking its territory. So bladder dysfunction means you have no control over your space. There's a sense that you have no control, or you feel like someone's in your business and you're trying to mark your territory. So when there is a bladder incontinence, when you have issues with your bladder, this is natural science. This is your body's attempt to mark or organize your territory. This is mine. In German New Medicine, we call this a bladder conflict. Now let's continue. What happens in our bodies when we have a heightened sense of danger? When there is a sense that we can't fight what's going on, we can't flight, we can't run away, we have no exit. What happens to our bodies at that moment. We're going to watch a strategy and then we can discuss it. So as you see here, for those that are just listening and not watching, we are seeing a dog and a duck in front of this dog. And the dog is starting to chase the duck. The duck is trying to go left, go right, running, again, trying to flight, trying to get away, and the dog gets right to it, and the duck falls over. What is it doing? Playing dead. Now we're going to see the dog walks away, and the duck gets up and goes away, disappears, runs. What did we just witness? Why did that duck freeze in the first place? It was a strategy that when there's too much going on and there's no exit, when there's high distress and no exit, the body will play dead, the body will become immobilized in order to wait for the danger to pass us and hopefully to not see us, right? Let's look at a mammal, a little more close to ourselves. And let's see what else happens. Because with the duck, it was very, very quick. So the duck was in a freeze response for, just as we saw, just a few seconds and got up immediately. But let's look at what happens when this is more drawn out. This distress happens for longer. So what we're seeing, again, for those that are not watching but listening, there is a leopard that has caught an antelope. The antelope is not moving at all. I will tell you the antelope is still alive, but that antelope isn't moving at all, just like that duck. Now, the leopard has left because there's some hyenas or something it has to go attend to. And this time, because that antelope was in that freeze response for longer, it is actually taking longer for it to recover. Interesting enough, the rigidity and paralysis will actually get stronger as the blood races into the limbs. And now see what's happening. What is the body doing there? We're noticing the antelope shaking. All the limbs, its neck, which we also saw, fell over and became paralyzed. Everything is shaking. Does this remind you of a symptom of MS? Now the shaking is getting weaker, it's lessening. And all of a sudden, the antelope gets up and runs away, having complete use of its muscles. And there's the leopard going, where did my meal go? So thinking about symptoms of the diagnosis of MS, right? We observe that when there is danger, when the body does not feel safe and feels stuck or trapped, it can do what's called tonic immobility. It can freeze. There are studies that us humans do the same thing that animals do. It will freeze. In your case, you might notice that the freeze was only in one part of the body. That, if we explored it, would actually have everything to do with the situation that caused you to feel like, oh my gosh, I want to do this, but I can't do this. I'm frozen in place. It's like this wrestling with, I always say it's like putting the accelerator and the brake at the same time. You feel stuck. You can't go, but you want to be going. And what also happens is when your body knows that it's safe, for example, at the end of the day, or as you're going to sleep at night, you might notice, if you start monitoring this, have these moments that you're just watching TV, you're relaxed, maybe it's the end of the day, it's the afternoon, and you've gotten all your stuff done and you're back home, these spasms can occur. So if you have paralysis and spasms, these are the freeze response when your body is getting the message that you are stuck and trapped. This in German New Medicine, we call it the motor conflict. Those spasms are there to help wake up again the muscles. So as, as someone said here before, removing all the spasms, trying to get rid of the spasms is not helping your body wake those muscles back up again. So it's a balance, right? So in German New Medicine, these two symptoms, the rigidity, the paralysis, the noticing that the legs are not responding when you want them to, and the spasms are one same symptom, one same conflict. They're not two different symptoms. So in nature, separation, losing sight of a mother, for example, and I'm going to show you an example, is a very highly distressing, very painful event. Many animals are in community, and being out of community, losing someone in the community, separation of any sort, even wanting to separate, is threatening for the body. Let me give you an example. Okay, so what we're seeing is a duck with its quite a few ducklings, okay? And you're going to watch someone comes in and picks up, all they do is pick up the duckling. And that's it. That is the paddling of the duck. Completely distressed that they picked up the duckling. It is very distressful in nature to be separated. So what does nature do when the separation is quite severe, quite brutal? Think about this. We're going to resolve this ourselves. When something feels too painful, think about alcoholics, right? Why do people drink? To numb themselves, to feel less, right? If you were capable of not feeling the area of your body that reminds you of that person that you lost, that you had the fear of losing, maybe it was just a very severe argument, and it was that moment that you thought, oh my gosh, I could actually lose this person, and then it didn't happen. There's still that fear and the brutal feeling of separation. Your body will actually numb the area related to that person. Again, as I said before, it doesn't need to only be a separation that you, like you don't want to separate. It can actually be even for the body. It's the same stress is the separation of wanting someone away from you, right? Get away from me. I don't want to have anything to do with me. You're stifling me. That will also create a distress in the body. So let me ask you this. What happens in your body when, for example, I don't know, you went to a yoga class and you sat down, because this is how you're supposed to sit, and you've been there for too long, and your leg got all numbed out, right? What happens when you stand up? Yes, you start getting tingling, and sometimes you can even get some pain, like shooting up and down your leg, right? So in German New Medicine, when there is an attempt to feel less of the other, there has been a brutal separation of some sort, the body will give you a numbing followed by tinglings. In German New Medicine, we call this a brutal separation. For those of you that do know German New Medicine, when the separation is less severe, you will actually have a numbing as well, but it's so light. It's not the numbing we experience with MS. It's so light that most often you can't even feel it unless someone touches your skin, and then you might notice, like, wow, I can't even feel that. And then followed during the repair, as it's repairing, you're establishing, you will actually have some sort of rash or eczemas and stuff like that. But in this case, for the symptoms typical of MS, these sensations that can actually give you the diagnosis, it is a brutal separation. So right now we're just going to explore the last one, but actually the one that will get you the diagnosis. So let me give you an example. Imagine two friends, they're colleagues at work. One is pretty athletic, the other one doesn't do anything. She just goes from home to car to work to car to home. And her colleague and friend says, hey, I'm going to do the wharf to wharf, the 5K run or 5-mile run. Do you want to come with me? What would happen if if this woman tried to do it? Well, she probably wouldn't make it, correct? Right. So what does she need to do? She needs to train. So what happens the first day this woman goes for training? She's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And she runs for a mile, right? At the end of that training, how is she when she sits into her car? I remember a couple years ago, I tried to do this mini triathlon. I thought it would be, sweet, but again, I'm like that woman. I don't move very much. And I remember after the first day of training, I got in my car and I thought, I'm not gonna be able to drive, right? And then when I got home, remember the first bike ride, I, biked all the way home. I left the bike, I went into the house, I threw myself on the bed, and I was there for half an hour just to recover enough energy and muscle to be able to go walk to the bathroom. It was like, I'm not going to be able to go pee. I don't have the muscles to sit on that toilet, right? So when we are trying to strengthen our muscles, the first thing that happens is the body breaks down the fibers of the existing muscle in order to build them back stronger. Now, this message of I need these muscles to be stronger can be given to the body because you're doing weights. And so you're telling the body, I'm requiring this and you aren't strong enough. And so this is telling the body, strengthen this for the next time I do the weights, I'll be able to lift them better. But it can also occur if you psychologically, mentally tell your body, I'm weak. I'm not good enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm not strong enough. I can't do something. I can't use my fingers as I should be able to. You are communicating to your body in natural sciences and in German new medicine. You are communicating to your body, this area is not strong enough. Please break it down, muscle weakness, in order to build it back stronger. This in German new medicine is called a self-devaluation conflict. Now, the problem happens is if your body is being given, for example, your leg is being given the message, you're not strong enough, you're not doing it well, it will break the fibers in order to build stronger. While those fibers are breaking, you feel more weakness. And if you get into a loop of, oh my God, I'm like really weak today, and da, 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 then you are once again giving the body continuous message, I'm not strong enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not strong enough, leading to more breakdown of those fibers and not giving the body the time to repair, fortify so that you are strong enough. So in order to bring all this together so that you can see how this unfolds in someone diagnosed with MS. I'm going to tell a story, very National Geographic style, and we're going to decipher what conflicts she's having in each moment. Okay. So this human, imagine we're kind of watching, a National Geographic's documentary. And the human we're going to watch her name is Darcy, okay? So when Darcy was 2, her mom was in hospital for 2 weeks. She was separated from her mom. So she is particularly sensitive to what kind of conflict? A brutal separation, any kind of separation, she has a lot of issues with. So Darcy was had allergies as a child, and her pediatrician tried to eliminate them by giving her monthly allergy injections. I think it was monthly or seasonally. Because she wasn't very happy with needles, her mom and her aunt actually had to hold her down while they were doing these injections. What kind of conflict is she experiencing at that moment? It wasn't, death, but what kind of conflict is she starting to experience? She's feeling trapped. She is beginning to experience a motor conflict. Now, it wasn't enough for her body to actually freeze or get rigid. Maybe there was a little bit of that. But it's definitely enough for her to be kind of sensitive to situations in which she feels stuck, right? I mean, it's her internal vocabulary. Oh my God, I'm stuck in it. I don't want to get stuck in that. No, don't do that because then I'll get stuck, right? She's already sensitive, traumatized, vulnerable to experiences of getting stuck. Also, we observe that she has very, very young parents. Way too young to raise a child, probably. And so she's actually done a lot of self-parenting as a kid. Or perhaps she just is, her mom's her best friend. And so there's a lot of taking care of mom's feelings, yet feeling like I can't tell her what's going on in my life. I don't want to upset her, right? She has this wanting to take care of others, wanting to take care of her parents' emotions and not sharing her own stuff because she doesn't want to stress them. So she's always, since a child, she's always tried to be the good girl, the good daughter. She's always trying to get good grades. She's always trying to make her parents happy. And so when she doesn't do very well, she beats herself up. She's, oh my gosh, I could have done better. Mom, parents, what are they going to think? They're going to worry about me. And so she's always pushing herself. What kind of conflict is she already beginning to have when she tries something and it doesn't quite work and she's like, oh gosh, I should have done better, and she starts doing more and she's always feeling not enough? She's having the self-devaluation conflict. This is a lifelong one that she's experiencing, and you'll understand why this is important in a moment. So never feeling enough, always feeling like she should be doing better, doing more, is that self-devaluation. Now, it wasn't enough to create muscle weakness yet, but it's there. She's primed for this one in the future. Okay, so now she's 30 years old. Our subject, Darcy, finds herself in a very stressful job because she didn't quite get adequate training. And because she's never asked for help, she doesn't want to upset her boss to think, that he didn't train her enough. She never asks. So she's very distressed. She hates this job and she just keeps plowing forward. So what is that sensation? I want to get out and I can't. What conflict is that? The motor conflict. All right. And again, it's not enough for her to really feel a paralysis, but her body's already right on that edge, right on the edge. Okay, but now in comes the unexpected, a new boyfriend. And he turns out to be bad, bad news. And she's afraid of getting out of this relationship because he's very jealous. But she so wants to get away from him. She's like trying to plan, what am I going to do? How do I get out of this? What kind of conflict is she experiencing? She's trying to feel him less. She's trying to get away from him. The brutal separation. I so need to get away from this relationship. What's interesting is I find that this symptom oftentimes doesn't come on right when she leaves. It comes on months later when she's finally gone. And then maybe there's an instant that she's like, oh my God, maybe he was going to find me. And then there's the threat, right? Because the fear of something is much greater, much more traumatic in the body than something that's physically happening. So the fear that he might find her is what finally brings the body to enough distress that she begins to have tingling. So she goes to the doctors, and doctor says, sensorial dysfunction. Okay, let's do an MRI on that one, right? He also does a reflex testing of her knees, for the body. And because she's been going through this high stress where she's stuck, interesting enough, her reflexes aren't quite reacting as they need to, right? There's a bit of rigidity, there's a slowness to her response. Then she gets her MRI, and her MRI in the area of the brain that corresponds to muscles, muscle tissue, joints, and bones are showing all this activity, these white lesions. This is actually the area of the self-devaluation conflicts, the muscles. So she gets diagnosed at the early age of 30 with MS. And the worst thing is she is given a prognosis, even though we have talked about in another blog and another video, and please go see that one if you've had the same problem. Right? But she's given the prognosis by this doctor that she'll probably end up in a wheelchair in 10 years. So she just takes that in, unfortunately, no SIBO, and just plows forward. Fortunately, the numbing doesn't go too much further, though anytime she gets tired or any body acts up, she starts to panic, which makes everything worse. But everything is okay, seems to be, until about 12 years later. 12 years later, she breaks her leg. Or perhaps 12 years later, her mom breaks her leg and she has to go see her mom, and she was going to go there for just maybe a weekend, and she ends up being there for months, and she can't get back, and she feels what? She starts experiencing which conflict when she realizes she can't do everything she needs to be doing, and she's got so much to do. She feels stuck, trapped, can't move forward, trying to push and feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. Another distress. So what happens? Finally gets home after being in her mom's house, she starts getting this rigidity, paralysis, then spasms sometimes at night. And she starts thinking, oh my gosh, my MS is getting worse. I'm definitely going to be in a wheelchair. He talked about 10 years. It's already been 10 years. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be stuck in a wheelchair. What did I say about fear? Fear makes everything so much worse. The body reacts more to fear than even reality. So now she's definitely triggering those spasms, that rigidity, and having more and more problems with walking. Couple more years pass by. She has problems with walking and stuff. So other people have to do a lot of things that she used to always do for her own. So now she finds that she has to ask for help more. And she's never asked for help. I mean, as a kid, she did everything herself, right? She was what's called a parentified child. I can take care of it. I don't need anybody. So all of a sudden she's starting to need help. And as well, other people are encroaching in her territory. Other people are organizing things not like she wants it. What kind of conflict is she getting now? The bladder conflict. Yes, she's starting to have bladder issues now. All right. Question. Does anyone see themselves, even just a little, in the story? Does anyone start understanding who is that person I wanted to separate from, or I didn't want to separate from? Where were you stuck? Where was there so much stress? Like, I've got to do this. I've got to get good grades. I've got to pass. Where was that space where you felt trapped? And how has that continued? And especially, where are you fearing getting stuck? Fearing losing control of your territory. Fearing not being strong enough. Fearing separation. The lens of German New Medicine, seeing these symptoms as this natural response to distress, as the body saying, oh my gosh, I need to help out my person. And then understanding that as you reduce your distress, your body can then reestablish homeostasis. The reason why I did this presentation today is that it can help you. It can give you one more model to help you understand what's going on in your body, and most importantly, to help you understand what you need to do to reduce that distress. How can you reduce the distress in your territory? What conversations can you have to say, hey, I need to be able to take decisions in this area? And what areas do you need to just let go of and go, I don't need that to be my territory as long as I have this? Where are you stuck in life? Are you pushing or deciding, I am not going in that wheelchair, I'm going, and you make yourself more stuck by stressing over and staying home? What relationships do you need to really look at and either establish more strength in or let go at this moment because they're not healthy for you? And if you fear someone, what do you need to do to let go of that fear? Because fear is the worst enemy of symptoms. And for your muscle weakness, give your body time to recover. Love it like you would a 3-year-old. Don't be its worst enemy. Don't treat yourself like someone else might have treated you as a kid. Don't be rigid with your own body. Give it plenty of time. Don't push yourself and expect you to run 5 miles. Take it slow. Build slowly. Give it time to rest, because the body only grows, only recovers, only regenerates when you are relaxed, not when you are pushing and distressed. So thank you very much. In our group sessions, we will work on these aspects, and I will be bringing you tools to build and give yourself resources to reduce the stress and to feel strong enough and safe so that your body can release and lighten up those symptoms. If you would like a root cause clarity call to see how this applies, German New Medicine and natural sciences, to your symptoms, please email me at eva@evamclark.com for a free consultation. All right, you guys, see you in the next episode.